It's the Disneyland with Kids podcast, bringing you travel tips, park tidbits, and the best Southern California travel deals.
Welcome, Disneyland friends. We are coming to you today with all 4 of the Disneyland with Kids co-founders, and we're ready to announce the evolution of this podcast and what is coming next for us. I'm Jessica from the Happiest Blog on Earth.
I'm Leslie from Trips with Tykes.
I'm Julie from Mom Rewritten.
And I'm Becca from This Crazy Adventure Called Life.
So we know that Becca has been so excited to tell everyone what's next here for the podcast, and I've really had to hold her back. So without further delay, we're going to reveal that now. Becca, take it away.
We started Disneyland with Kids podcast 5 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. And we did take a year hiatus, but recently we surpassed 100 episodes published, which is crazy. The podcast started as an extension of our Disneyland Kids Facebook group, and we have loved creating this outlet to talk more off the cuff about Disneyland Resort. Today, we are excited to announce that here on out, the podcast will now be known as Castle Talk Radio.
Yes, that's right. Castle Talk Radio comes with a name change, but keeps your regular hosts, Becca and Jessica, myself, talking about all things Disneyland, and a few other castles thrown into the mix, all within a short, information-filled podcast and YouTube episode.
And since we've built this podcast as a team for so many years, we had to have another episode that had all 4 of us on one podcast, the original co-founders of Disneyland with Kids.
Yes, and we want to make clear that a lot of things are going to stay the same. Like, we're still going to have the Disneyland with Kids Facebook group. Nothing is changing there. All 4 of us will be your guides there. But the podcast is going to be the amazing Becca and Jessica only in the future.
And you can still expect to hear from all of us on occasion. We'll be making some guest appearances, but with Jessica and Becca as your regular hosts.
100%. In fact, we recently had an episode where Julie and I were discussing cute and comfy clothes to wear to Disneyland. And then Leslie and I chatted about her recent trip to Tokyo Disney Resort.
Yes, we are so excited to evolve into Castle Talk Radio with the same things you love about the podcast and a few new things to come that Jessica won't let me share yet.
Right. And as I mentioned, we're all involved in the Disneyland with Kids group and continue to write travel content on our own websites. But there's really so much to each of our lives professionally and personally. I wanted to take a moment to showcase these amazing women that I get the privilege to work with on a daily basis. So while you might not hear from them as regularly on the podcast every week, you can definitely hear from them on multiple platforms. So we're going to start with Julie. Now, Julie, Mom Rewritten has been around for how long now?
Well, I started blog writing about 15 years ago when my dad was first diagnosed with cancer. And it was just a way for me to share news with my family about his health and other kind of tidbits about our family. And then when my dad passed away, I transitioned the blog into what it is today. And I started it kind of as a tribute to him because he loved Disneyland so much. He enjoyed reading my writing. And I just had so many wonderful memories at Disneyland with him. So I really wanted to incorporate that into my blog. And I'm going to celebrate 10 years with my current blog in just a few weeks.
That's amazing. And I have loved hearing the stories about your dad taking you to Disneyland as a kid. We've talked about some of those on the podcast. And I think you've done such an incredible job really making that a tribute to him, but also expanding it into so many things that we know he is super proud of. So to highlight Mom Rewritten a little bit more, I wanted you to share with our listeners some of your most popular articles, because these are the things that you guys love Julie for already and things that you're going to want to go over to Mom Rewritten to learn about. So tell us about some of those like Disney tips you have on your blog and other things with family travel, family advice.
Yeah, so I don't just write about Disneyland or a Disney World. I have a lot of stuff on there. It's more of a lifestyle website. So, as far as Disneyland, one of my most popular Disneyland articles includes a 1-day guide for first time visitors. And you'd be surprised how many first time visitors only plan to visit for a single day. So, this article, kind of helps them maximize their time. And then other Disney content includes tips for a rope drop, a printable packing list, and a guide for parents of toddlers visiting Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. And other than Disney, I have several popular articles, including a everything cookie recipe and printable behavior charts. And of course, as a Southern California native, I've got lots of articles about the other SoCal theme parks, including complete guides to Universal Studios Hollywood, Knott's Berry Farm, San Diego Zoo, SeaWorld, things like that.
Yes, and we love having all of your information because you're able to go to the theme parks so often, especially those ones in San Diego. And I know you recently went to Knott's Berry Farm. And so we always rely on Julie for that kind of local input. Now, Julie, is there anything you want to share with us about your life behind the scenes? Like, what's a typical week like for you, wrangling all things family and mom rewritten?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a mom rewritten because I have 2 older kids that have left home, 2 younger kids still in the nest. I'm just a normal, busy parent, packing lunches, driving, cleaning, walking the dog, taking the kids to after school activities. And I share a lot of my family life in Instagram stories at Mom Rewritten if you'd ever like to follow along. Little League and baseball in general are just a really big deal at my house. So a good portion of my days are spent watching baseball, either my son or the San Diego Padres. And I'm also an avid quilter, so I always have a few sewing projects happening. And then, of course, I had a really big change. Earlier this year, my son and his wife had their first child, and my granddaughter is just adorable. And they live about an hour drive from us, so I don't see her too frequently, but I live for those baby snuggles and photos that my son and my daughter-in-law send me. And of course, it's kind of weird to think that I'm a grandma now, but since I'm the parent of an 8-year-old and I'm still in the thick of parenting, and it's just weird.
Oh, well, we love it so much. We feel like we get to play a small role in this grandparenting scheme because we're always like, send us the pictures. We want to see the baby. And of course, we love following along with your beautiful, beautiful quilting and so many talents. So definitely check out all of Julie's platforms, Mom Rewritten. Of course, she's in Disneyland with kids to help you out with those planning things. And it has just been so incredible to have all 4 of us here together right now and together for however many years we've been doing this. You guys are some of my best friends, and I absolutely love that. I'm going to pass the microphone over to Becca to interview and introduce another one of our co-founders, Leslie from Trips with Tyke. So Becca, go for it.
Yeah, so we already know Leslie, obviously, just like we already know Julie, but I don't think everyone knows everything that Leslie does. So as mentioned, Leslie Harvey writes on her own site, Trips with Tykes, and she also contributes to other sites such as The Points Guy. Leslie, when did you venture into writing about travel as a career, and what type of life did you give up?
I guess I've been doing this more than a decade. Like Julie, I had a personal blog way back in the day when my oldest was a baby, but didn't start really travel blogging until about close to 12 years ago. But the blog was, never thought it would be a career. I used to be an attorney in a previous life. I did patent litigation, very different than travel writing, but it evolved and had a grand time doing it. And like you say, now I freelance regularly for The Points Guy. I freelance for a lot of other sites over the years and have retired from lawyering. It's been great.
It's definitely a different lifestyle now that you aren't a lawyer anymore, but you're still kind of in that. It's kind of nice though to have you, because like when we have questions about copyright and things, we can always be like in a non-legal advising position. What do you think?
You never can fully give it up. Never, ever.
No. So Because you do so much, I want to know if you had just one article on your site that you encourage someone planning their Disneyland vacation to read. You could only choose one article. What would it be?
So if you can only read one, this is one that's very me. So if you read my site, you follow what I talk about on Disneyland with Kids. I am really into the strategy and the maximizing your time. I joke that I make my kids do the forced march of happiness to do as much as possible in as short of a period of time as possible. So the article that you should read is my advanced tips for maximizing Genie Plus. So I really go hard. Like the first time Genie Plus came out, I did all 19 rides that were on Genie Plus in a single day just to see if it could be done. And, again, the Genie Plus has evolved and changed and the rules have been tweaked. So you have to know how that's happened. And I always am updating that blog post to make sure that other people can really get the most for their money and do as much as possible, even if they have a short Disneyland vacation.
Yes, definitely. You are the one that is wanting to get everything done. Everything you can do. You're always so packed, fast paced when we're in the parks. So I have to mention, additionally, you also co-host another Disney podcast that is focused mostly on Walt Disney World called Disney Deciphered. So you are super busy, and you are also at a super busy point in parenthood. Your oldest is in high school and doing competitive sports. How has that impacted your travel lifestyle, and what lessons have you learned from that you would share with other parents?
So, the takeaway for me is that it gets busier when your kids get bigger. My oldest started high school, like you said, and her, schedule consumes so much of our family, and it's harder to get away. The takeaway I have for other parents is make the most of the time when your kids are little. And, right now my daughter's high school schedule, sports schedule consumes so much of what we do. And I'm really grateful we took the time when our kids were younger, their schedules were more flexible, to travel as much as possible. And I will say it's hard because when your kids are younger, you probably, are just getting started in your own career, probably don't have the disposable income to travel as much. And, at this point in my career and my life, I have less time, hopefully a little bit more money, hopefully for everybody as well. So, but take the time, do the inexpensive trips, even if you are on a tight budget when you're in your 20s and 30s, do them with your kids. I'm very grateful that we did so much with our kids when they're little, and we're now counting down the summers until we have one out of the house and trying to squeeze in as much as possible.
Yeah, I definitely 100% agree that you should travel while they're younger. My oldest is in middle school, almost about to go into high school soon, but with all his AP classes and everything, we're learning missing school isn't the option it used to be, and life's getting busy.
I love hearing a little bit more about our co-founders, and I hope you did too. So of course we skipped over Becca and myself, but you'll hear more from us later on Castle Talk Radio. But one thing that I just really want to applaud and reiterate is Becca, I know, has been writing her website for more than 10 years, as well as I have. And I think with the four of us, we just have such a great comprehensive view of travel and parenting and how to get those things done. Like, we have been there with babies and toddlers and preschool kids all the way up to teenagers, and we're introducing grandbabies into the parks as well. So you have really the ultimate resource within the Disneyland with Kids community and each of our websites to get ideas on how to make those big dreams and vacations happen, but also how to make the most of what you have and where you're at right now. So if it's those weekend getaways, if it's those staycations, or really just making some memories at home, we have that for you. And we're so happy to have brought you the Disneyland with Kids podcast for so long, and excited to move into Castle Talk Radio with you as listeners. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all at Disneyland real soon.